Vanakkam. After discussing material master in details and also bill of materials in the last two sessions, in this session we will be discussing work center. We will be covering what are all the parameters covered in work center, how to manage work center, and various reports in this session. Work centers are used in both PP and MM. Before going to the session, let us see the answers for the quiz from the previous session. What are the prerequisites to create a bill of material? Metal master for header and child materials. Material type is allowed to create BOM. Not for all the materials we can create the BOM. It should be allowed in the metal type configuration. What is the usage of the bill of material? I mean, whether it is for production, costing, or engineering. From which effective date, that we should know. And whether it is the one bill of material or second bill of material like alternative. Engineering change number. The engineering change number is used to control any changes, and also what is the status, whether we should keep it active or inactive. A multi-level BOM can be created in one step, true or false. False. BOM can be created always in single step only. When we create the bill of material for two different materials, if they are having a child header relationship, automatically the bill of materials will be getting linked. One metal has more than one BOM, how it can be managed? With the alternate BOM, more than one BOM can be created for a material. What is the T code to view level by level BOM, CS11? Can we maintain bill of material for a material with base quantity of more than one? Yes. At times, we may need to have some fractions of quantities used in the bill of material. At that time, the base quantity 1 may not be able to define the child item like a 0.00001 like that. In these cases, maybe we have to define the header item as like a 100 or 1000. Accordingly, the child item also we can define 0.01 or 0.01 so that we can bring the accuracy in the bill of material. What is the T code to view multi-level BOM? CS12. What is the importance of BOM status? BOM status describes the current processing status of the bill of material. This indicate controls what are the various processes that can be done with the BOM. For example, if we use the status as 1, this is BOM is active, which means it can be exploded in MRP, it can be released for planned orders, anything. If we select status 2, which is not active, this means BOM cannot be processed for any other process. What is the T code to view the summarized BOM? CS13. What are the different items categories used in bill of material? Give at least 4. Here I give only 4. Remaining you please explore. L stock item, N stock item, non-stock item, D document item, or variable size items. What is the T code to compare two different BOMs? CS14. At times we may have to compare two different materials bill of materials so that we will be able to understand what is the difference between them, what are the similarities for those things. For these we are using the transaction CS14. What is the T code to find out where a metal is used? CS15. For example, we are using one component. We want to know which and all the BOM this component is getting used. It may be used in a subassembly, it may be used in a finished product anywhere. Using CS15, we can see the details. How many alternate BOMs can be created for a material? Up to 99 alternate BOMs we can create. What are the parameters that can be changed through BOM mask change? Through mask change, we can update, change the item details, delete item or many items, add materials, add document, add class. We will be discussing in detail about work center in this session. To get maximum output from SAP system, it is important to set up complete and comprehensive master data. In discrete manufacturing or any other manufacturing types, if we set up master data in the right sequence, then it is much easier to connect with other types of master data because the predecessor successor relationship is already taken care. We discussed master data like metal master and bill of materials in detail in previous sessions. Next step is to create work center. Create After creating work centers, we have to create routing for the material, in which we need to assign the previously created work centers. Work centers must be defined before routing operation is defined. And then we have to create production version, where we have to assign the materials BOM and routing through production version. In this session, we will discuss fundamentals of work centers. A work center is a location where the capacity of production resources is consumed by activities performed in the manufacturing of products. Work centers are used in task lists like routing, standard network, inspection plan, maintenance task list, rough cut capacity planning profiles, and in orders like production orders, maintenance orders, to identify where the work is going to be performed. Right? So work center is where an operation or activity is carried out within the plant. Work centers can be used as capacity collectors for internal and external suppliers, like for external processing. And work centers are also called as mission group or capacity group. A work center can represent anything as general as geographic location or specific as particular machine within a department in a plant. A work center is assigned to a plant. So what are the examples of work centers? Like an individual machine, it may be a work center, or a production line, that may be a work center, or an individual person who is performing the activity, he may be defined as a work center, and then a manufacturing cell can be defined as work center. So all these things can be defined as work centers. So work centers are used in various applications for various purposes. We assign work centers to particular work center category depending on their function. The work center category mainly controls the field and screen selection for work centers. Normally, work center categories are used for particular purpose such as routing or network. However, there are no fixed assignments. In customizing, we can set the values of work center category, and per plant, we can define the screen sequences also. Now, work center is used for capacity planning. Based on the capacity and the formula defined in the work center, capacity planning can be done for production. Availability of capacity is limited, so it is important to plan the capacity for each work center to complete the production on time. And then production scheduling is done through work centers. Once capacity are planned, available capacity should be scheduled in such a way that they are executed efficiently. Based on scheduling formula in work center, we can schedule the operations for production orders for production. And then for product costing, when we run production, we should know the cost of operations. Using formula defined in work centers, we can calculate the cost of operations with the different cost elements. So to facilitate this, each work centers will be assigned to cost centers. And then work centers are used in quality management, where the quality checking is done, and they are used in routing to define the operations. Also in sales and operations planning, to understand what is the limit in the capacity, work centers are used. And we can do detailed analysis based on the work centers. So when we talk about work centers, we need to first understand what is available capacity. Normally, the capacity in work centers are measured in terms of hours or minutes. So what is available capacity? A work center may be available for full 2 shifts. Out of these 2 total capacity, after reducing required break hours, available capacity are arrived. For example, a factory is working in 2 shifts. So total hours will be 16 hours. In one shift, there may be 15 minutes for cleaning, 30 minutes for break and food break, and 15 minutes for tea break. So for each shift, we have 60 minutes break. This means available hours per shift is 7 hours. This means total available hours for the shift is 14 hours. Right? So this is the one thing which you need to understand. It is not that all the 16 hours are available, only 14 hours are available. If you have 2 machines, so then we have to multiply this with 2. Means the total hours is 32 hours. break total is, for each mission we have the 60 minutes break. No? So we have 20 minutes as break, and total available capacity for 2 shifts with 2 missions is 28 hours, right? So this is one important point we need to understand. And then we have to consider what is the efficiency, what is the capacity utilization. Those things we'll discuss in detail when you are talking about managing the work centers. Now this is the basic idea where we need to understand there is a concept called available capacity. And then for each work center we need to have required capacity, which is called as a load, because we have 16 hours of machine in which 14 hours are available, but how much load is there, which means how much production orders are there. So required capacity or load is number of hours required to produce a product in work center. How do we determine this? To determine this, we need the details like setup time, processing time, labor time, and then quantity from production orders or planned orders. This is to use to calculate the required capacity or load. And in work centers, how the capacity is calculated? So the capacities are calculated based on the setup time, processing time, and what is the required quantity and what is the base quantity. Based on these, capacities are calculated. So here the setup time, the processing time per unit, these are all coming from standard value key defined in work centers. What is the quantity to produced, that is coming from production orders. And then from routing we have what is the base quantity to produce, what are the machine hours, the standard time, labor hours, those details we get. Consolidating these things, we get the machine capacity, which is arrived by general formula setup time plus processing time multiplied with required quantity divided by base quantity. This is how we get the total capacity. This is an illustration. For example, there is a base quantity of 100 defined in routing, where the setup time is defined as 100 minutes and machine time is defined as 200 minutes. That is 200 minutes are required to produce 100 pieces, because the base quantity is 100. No, we put the machine time as 400 minutes. For 200 minutes required to produce 100 pieces. Labor time is defined as 400 minutes, meant to produce 100 pieces. Now if we want to calculate what is the capacity required, the formula is what? It is the setup time plus the processing time multiplied with the required quantity divided by base quantity, which means that to produce 200 pieces, the setup time is 100 minutes. With that we add these 200 minutes to, 200 pieces, right? That one we have to multiply with this 200 machine time minutes divided by the 100 pieces of base pieces. With this we are getting what is the capacity required, means the machine capacity required as 100 plus 400, 500 minutes. This is how the capacities are calculated. This is what? No, this is the load. This 500 minutes is a load which is calculated. Okay, this clarity has to be there, because whenever we see the analysis of work center capacity and those things, we need to understand clearly how the capacities are calculated. And then scheduling. Scheduling includes various activities like arranging the operations in sequence, allocating the proper resource, assigning the job work centers or machines, and then it should have proper start date and finish date, and what is the material issue times, because we have to issue the materials. Based on these things, scheduling is arrived. So manufacturing facility and layout to decide what kind of scheduling type we can go. In general, there are two types of scheduling: forward scheduling and backward scheduling. Forward scheduling plans the activities from the date resources are available and arrive at the finish date. In case of backward scheduling, we plan the activities from the due date and arrive at the start date. So your organizations may use these types, any one of these type or both of them also, depending on, again as we said, the layout and the facility. So what is forward scheduling? So forward scheduling starts from planned order start date or planned order release date. From there it is started. From start date, subsequent activities are scheduled. You see, it is from left to right, from the start date to right it is happening. Forward scheduling helps to complete the task in advance. It helps to confirm earliest possible time to customer requirements. At the same time, if the materials are not shipped after completion, it may lead to inventory pileup. So here we can see order start date. There is a float before production, float after production. This is the float which also we the time required or the arrangements we need to do before production, after production. Please remember the discussion on schedule margin key, where also we have this float before production and float after production. And then we have for each operation, we have the details. What are the details covered in operation? We will see just now. So based on this, we have schedule start date. For each operation, there are timings, which is planned forward, and then scheduled finish date is arrived. After considering float after production, we get the order finish date. And then we have backward scheduling. Backward scheduling starts from the planned order receipt date or customer due date. So from due date, previous activities are scheduled, like the float after production, each operation level activities, and then float before production. Then we get the order start date. Backward scheduling helps to plan resources as needed. It helps to optimize usage of resources while meeting customer requirements. At the same time, as the start date is considered due date, if there are constraints in availability of resources, it may lead to delay in completion of the orders. So which one we have to take depends on the organization's layout and also how they arrange the facilities. And what are the lead time? For each operation we discuss what are the time which are required. There are 5 elements of the lead time elements in scheduling. One is that queue time. It is the time spent waiting to be processed at work center. Right? I mean, the material will be coming there, but it will be waiting for some activities. And then we have setup time, time to prepare the work center. So this is one of the important parameter which you have to reduce. And the runtime is what is the operation time, the processing time. Waiting time is to clear the product, and the move time is the time required to move the material from operation to another storage. Right? So these are the time elements you have to consider. In this discussion, we will be talking about the setup time and running time. So I will suggest the learners to practice by putting the value for queue time, waiting time and move time, and understand what are the consequences. Right? But if you have the setup time and processing time, that is the run time, that is more than sufficient as of now. Scheduling is carried out based on various details, like what is the requirement date, which is the time we get from the production orders or planned orders, and then what is the standard operation time, which is in the routings, and then the inter-operation times, what we discussed, the elements like a queue time, wait time, move time, all those details are available there. And then we have work center costing. Each work center is assigned to a cost center. Based on calculation formula which is defined in costing view, cost element values are defined in cost centers. Based on this, costing for each operation is calculated. Okay, working out cost is important. The operation cost. From that we get the overheads cost. For our business case, let us define 4 work centers: SG001 pre-assembly, SG002 final assembly, SG003 pre-assembly SFG and FG, SG004 SFG and FG. Using the concepts we are discussing and also the demonstration we are going to show, please practice these things so that you can use them for subsequent sessions. So here we'll discuss in detail about work centers. So work centers determine the place where the operation is executed. That is the basic definition we discussed. The work center contains like default values that are copied or referred in operations when we create routings. Also there are costing details which are necessary for costing operations. And then there are scheduling and capacity data required for lead time scheduling and capacity planning. There are many details are there. The data on the work center are defined function wise. So there is a basic data screen. Here standard value key is defined. Standard value key defines one or more standard value parameters like a setup time, labor time. Those things are defined in basic data view. In addition to this, we have name, description, who is responsible for work center. Those details are available. And then in default screen, they contains the details which have to be defaulted in the operations when you are creating the routine. For example, control key, standard text key, wage data, those things have to be popped up as a default from work center. Those details you can create here. And then we have capacity details. In capacity screen, we see that how the available capacity at work center is calculated. Hope you remember now our discussion on available capacity in the previous session. So that one, how to calculate, that is in the capacity data. and more than one capacity like machine capacity or labor capacity, those things can be entered. How to calculate the setup capacity, how to calculate processing capacity through formulas, and how the shift sequence has to be defined. Those parameters are defined in capacity data view. And then we have a scheduling screen. Scheduling screen controls how to use the scheduling for the available capacity, how to do the schedulings. That's what we do here. So here one capacity from each capacity screen we can set as the basis for scheduling, which is the bottleneck capacity we can define. And then we have the link to work center with the cost centers, where we are defining in the work center the activity types. There are formula, and from the cost elements defined in the cost centers and the value of the activity types, we can calculate what is the cost of the operations. So costing view links the work center and the cost centers, right? So these are the various screens which are available in work centers. Now let us see them one by one. How to create work center? Work center is created through the menu path shown here, or simply T code CR01, right? And after entering the CR01, let us go into the screen where we enter the plant. It is a plant where we want to create the work center. It is mandatory to assign the plant to each work center. And then we enter what is the work center. It may be alphanumeric name. Here we give like HG501, or it may be 1234, or it may be 123-1, like that we can give it, which is to denote the work center. And then we have the work center category. Work center category is a control function which is used to ensure that only relevant screens are eventually available during work center creation. For that, work center category is used. For example, 001 defines the machine category. 007 means like a production line. According to that, we can have the screens which are defined. Those things are controlled in the configuration of the work center category. And then we have the option to copy the details from plant or reference work center. So here we can select the checkbox, either plant or the reference work center, so that creation of the work centers will be made easy. So if you give the reference of the plant and work center, system will take the default values which are coming from those work centers. So time to create the work center will be saved. But please take care that during this step, we have to update required details in the new work center what we are creating. Just either copying and keep it, that may lead to some problem. Please be careful on this. After entering all these, we go into the screen where we are seeing basic data, default values, capacities, scheduling, costing. There are 5 tabs normally available in work centers. Now let us click on the basic data. Now we are in basic data. When I have the basic data, we can enter what is the short description, the work center name. It is a lathing machine, painting unit. Either we can give what is the work center here. And then we give who is person responsible for the work center. So with this, in various reports, we can find out, we can analyze the work center's details using these person responsible parameters. So each person will be assigned responsible to each work center so that we can identify responsibilities clearly. And then we have usage. The usage is the detail which is listing out what are the tasks which has to be mentioned by the work center. It is a control function that controls what the work center is available for various other tasks. For example, here 00 means no task. 001 means only routing and production order. Like that is given. Normally, for production when you are creating, we used to have this usage 009, all task types, right? That's what we will select. Then, in the basic data itself, when you scroll down, we are seeing this standard value key. So standard value key is what? Standard value key defines the activities performed on the work center as well as the option to record them. For example, the activities like setup or machine time or labor time, those are the things which are defined under this standard value key SAP 1. There are other keys also. What we want we can configure as a default. When we select SAP 1 as a standard value key, we are seeing these details here. So here we see that also other options, right? That against the setup we see that 2 should be executed, and then there will be a activity like must be entered, or there will be some option like no checking. Like that the parameters will be there. If we mark must be entered means during creation of routing we need to enter the actual duration of the activity, that is must. And then when it is may not be entered, should not be entered, should be entered, also various options like what kind of control we can have when you're entering the routing. So according to the requirement, the criteria, for example, some parameters have to be must be has to be entered there. We have to select the must be entered here. So when I create routing, that value has to put, then only the routing can be saved. Otherwise, routing cannot be saved. For some values, we need not enter any details. There we can put it there should not be entered. Like this, we can take it, right? So that is what the two should be and other things. And then we have the backflush. What is the backflush? Backflush is, hope you remember our discussion on backflush in Metal Master. Where is it? MRP2 view. That one is creating the backflush for the particular metal across all the work centers where it is required. But if you don't select the backflush there in Metal Master, we can select individual work center also. For example, some component, it may has to be backflush automatically consumed in some work centers. Some work centers should not be consumed. That is the case, we can select the option of work center. This also we discussed there in detail. Backflush can be selected in Metal Master or work center, routing, like that we discussed in various options. This is the option in work center. And then we are having the next view, which is the default views. In default views, we are having the values like control key, standard text key, those kind of details. Now the control key that determines whether we have to perform an activity or task associated with the work center and how we are going to perform. For example, the work center controls may have functions like scheduling, costing, automatic goods receipt, print confirmation, those things. If the control key is not having this checkpoint which is marked, for example, in the control key PP01, if a scheduling is not selected, then this particular operation with this work center schedule will not be carried out. So if there is any scheduling problem, you have to refer the control key also and check it. What is the value which is there? How to see the control key? Those things we discuss later. And then we have this costing. If you don't activate costing, costing will not happen. Also, automatic goods receipt. We have to trigger it so that automatic goods will happen. This is normally used in the final operation of the routing. Right? The various controls we can. This is very important parameter, the control key. About control key, we'll discuss more detail when we are discussing the routing at that time. Now, just understand this is an important control function. And then we have the various unit of measurements for the standard values. For example, setup time, what is unit of measurement we have to have? For machine time, what is unit of measurement we have? For labor, what is unit of measurement we have? We may have like minutes or hours or even days also we can give. Alright. And then let us click on this capacities tab. Now we are in the capacity. In capacity, first you have to define what is the capacity category. For example, in the same machine we can use the machine also. There may be labor also required. So we'll have a capacity category of machine and capacity category of labor. Both we can enter. So we have to start with this one capacity category. Here we see that the machine capacity, labor capacity 001 is the machine capacity. Here we can allocate capacities of different capacity categories to each work center. And then we have the formula. You can see here there is a lot of standard SAP formula given here. Let us not try to create any customized formula because all the standard formula will meet our requirement. For example, here we are having SAP 005 which is calculating the capacity for setup requirements, and there is SAP 006 which is for machine requirement capacity. Like this we have some formula. So we have to use this formula and to calculate how to do the setup time calculations, how to do the processing time calculations for capacity purpose. And then in the bottom you will see this kind of tab where we click the capacity header. Capacity header, when you enter it, now here we can enter what is the short text, that is what is the capacity name that we can enter it. And then we have to see that what is the capacity planner group. Like during evaluation of capacities, the capacity planner group can be one of the evaluation criteria. I mean, we have to do some analysis, means we can use this parameter so that we can segregate the details according to the capacity group. And then we have factory calendar. The factory calendar is what we define at the plant level. We can use them in the work centers. If some work centers are having some different calendar, for example, some work centers may not work on every Friday because of some power problem or something, we need to create a separate factory calendar for that and I have to assign to this. And then What is the basic unit of measure for the work center? So that will be coming as, or we can define here, hours means HR, like that we can define. And then we have the details like start time, finish time, that work center start time and finish time. In the given example, the work center starts at 6 o'clock, finishes at 10 o'clock, that is 22 hours. And length of the break, hope you remember during our available capacity discussion, we have different breaks. No, here we are giving a total break as 1 hour 30 minutes. I mean, two shifts, no, for 45 minutes for each shift. That's what we are giving as a break. And then we have the capacity utilization, which means this machine will be used 90% of the time. That is the capacity utilization. And there are 4 machines are there. After entering all these things, by pressing enter, we will get the details like this. What is we are getting? Operating time is 13 hours 5 minutes we are getting. How it is calculated? That is 6 hours to 12 hours, 22 hours. No, that is totally 12 hours. So that is, sorry, 16 hours, right? And that is 16 hours multiplied with 0.9, right? Sorry, that is 16 hours. We reduce this 1.5 hours. So we are getting 14.5 hours. These 14.5 hours, 90% of 14.5 hours is 13.05 hours. 0.05 hours. That's what we get. I repeat it. We have a start time of 6 hours, finish time of 22 hours, total 16 hours. 16 hours, there is a break of 1.5 hours, so we have 14.5 hours. These 14.5 hours, we have capacity utilization, which is 90%. So 90% of 14.5 hours is 13.05 hours. So the number of individual capacity is 4. So 4 into 13.05, we get this 52.2 hours. That is the available capacity. Okay, this is what we seen as an illustration in our previous session. But now here we are seeing the capacity utilization additional parameter, right? That's what we see. And then we have the relevant to finite schedule. Left side, now the bottom we can say relevant to finite scheduling. This means the capacity of this work center, the finite scheduling can be done. Instead of infinite capacity, we can calculate the finite scheduling. That's what we get from this tab. I mean this checkpoint of the finite scheduling. I mean there is a overload means system will tell the message. There is a message. There is a overload. And if you have the overload, that also we can mention here. For example, there is a 5%, right? The 5% will consider the as a overload. This much overload can be allowed. Like that will give. Beyond that, system will give a alarm, or we can restrict also not to take the capacities. And then we have other details like long-term planning. So what is the long-term planning? The checkbox enables the system to consider the production line is available during long-term planning. So long-term planning is what it is, a simulative planning of material production. Like that we can get it. So these are all the various details we are entering the capacity tab. Now you press the back button in the SAP screen. We'll go to the screen where we are having that tabs, scheduling tab and other things. Let us enter the scheduling tab. Now we are having the scheduling tab where we enter the details like capacity category where the scheduling has to be carried out, and then the formula required for scheduling activities like SAP 001 for setup formula, SAP 002 for processing formula. And then we have the costing view. In the costing view, we have the start date and finish date of this cost center, which is valid and is applied to this cost center. That validity we have to enter, and then enter what is the cost center assigned to this work center. Then here, this is the integration point between PP and costing. Please note that this is the integration between PP and FICO, mean controlling, where the work center is assigned to the cost center. Please note one important point here. We can assign one cost center to multiple work centers, but we cannot assign multiple cost center to one work center. That you have to be careful. And then define the activity type. Activity type denotes the rate at which system calculate the cost. For example, for setup time, there is some activity type. For machine, there may be activity type. Those things we have to enter here. For these, there will be value defined in the cost center as a cost element, activity price center. Based on this activity type and activity price, using the formula, system will calculate what is the cost of these operations, and then we'll get the results. What is the cost of calculating operating this activity? Which cost we get it. Now we will see how to create a work center. Before creating any work center, we need to refer another master data which is there for easy reference. So for displaying the work center CS03, we are going to this work center. We see various tabs here: basic data, default values, capacity, scheduling, and costing. Like these various tabs are there. We'll keep them as a reference when you are creating the new work center. Now we go to create the new work center. To create the new work center, let us use the menu path. The logistics, production, master data. Under master data, we go to the work center. Under work center, again work center, and then create. Create is CR01. Now we are in the page of creating the work center. So the work center number we give is SG03, and then we have to fill the what is the next work center category. What is the category we have to fill? Let us go and refer the work center what we displayed there. So here the work center category is defined as 0001, which is the machine category. So for our new work center also we'll use the same category. So here we go and select that is 001 machine category. After entering these, we go inside the creation page. So here first, now that the work center category is coming here inside is appearing automatically, and then work center description we have to fill it here. So it is the pre-assembly activities. We can type there, like we can mention it is SFG or FG, whatever we want. We can mention those details. After filling these details, we have to go to the next further details. What are the further details? Again, we'll go back to the reference. See, there are many fields we are not using them. So now usage, right? So whenever you fill any field, use the F1 help to see what is that field. Here it is the task list usage. What is the usage? It described here. Now here we will go and see what is the possible entry. It is 009. All tasks we will be using it 009. So what is the next one? We have to fill the standard value key. So what is the standard value key? It is to define the setup time, machine time, labor time, those kind of things. So here we can define up to 6 parameters. So please read all these field help pages. This will be very helpful to learn a lot in SAP. So this is very important that for every field you go through these things. Now we come and see what is the standard value key we maintain for the reference work center. The reference work center, it is SAP1 we used. So the same thing will come and update here, SAP1. Now we select SAP1. The moment we enter, then automatically we'll get the setup time, machine time, labor time here. In these things, we have to define what is the rule. Setup time, whether I have to mandatorily maintain, machine time I have to mandatorily maintain, labor time I have to mandatorily maintain, like this. So I'm selecting for each one, what are all the parameters I would like. So this one you can check. Only thing you have to check, should be entered means it will give warning message, must be entered means it will give error message when you are creating routing or further update of these details, right? So here machine time is must be entered, and then we go to the next tab, which is called the default values. Default values will bring the details from here to next master data. For example, control key. If I enter one control key here, whenever I use the work center, this will be appearing automatically in the next work center. So what is the help key? Control key is defined here. We go to F4. We are going to use YBP1. That is the control key we'll be using. So we'll go and click on it and then see the detailed information about this YBBP1. System will be showing what is that things here. For example, scheduling, right? The capacity requirements, costing, and then print confirmation. Like this, these details are there, will be there if you are using this work center. So in this control key, when it is used in the work center, and during the next creation of routing, this control key will come automatically. Then we see the default values for setup, machine, and labor. We are going to use the unit of measurement as minutes. So now after completing this, we are going to the next tab called capacities. Now we'll go and fill the capacity. In capacity, there are two capacity defined: machine capacity, person capacity. For our work center also will define machine and person. So here machine capacity is 001, and then the this one, what is it, capacity category also, next is the person, and also we define the formula for setup formula and processing formula. These formula are used to calculate the capacities. So now after filling the machine capacity formula, setup and processing, we fill the details for capacity of the labor also. For labor, setup is same, but the processing we should use the respective formula here. After filling these two, we have to define what is the available capacity, right? For that, we click on the capacity icon here, like this. Click here. So system will take us to the first capacity category, machine 001, right? Now we have to describe what is this. It is the So we try to go and see the reference work center's capacity. Now we go to the new work center. Here we are typing pre-assembly activities. For example, I want to identify this is the machine work center. No? So I am typing here. After typing this, we should also fill other details like the capacity responsible. Who is the person responsible? That we have to select here as the planning group. That is A person is responsible. And what is the capacity? The hours. So here I want to see the capacity, but they are not still coming. So we have to see why it is not coming. That we will see later. Now we will come to the new work center creation. Where is that new work center creation? Yeah. So here we will see that now capacity basic unit we are taking hours HR. So I select hours as the basic unit of measure for this capacity. Also, you have to define what is the start time and the end time. So this work center is available 24 hours, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, finishing at 6 o'clock on the next day. So we define start time as 6 o'clock and end time as 6 o'clock. Length of the break, there are 3 shifts. Each shift is having half an hour break. So we put 1.5 hours as the break. And capacity is 90%. There are 2 machines here. We fill these things, enter. After entering this, then system will take us to the second capacity category, labor. So here again we put the description, that a pre-assembly details. No, that one we type it here. I mean copy and paste it here, and also we add it is labor, so that will be easy understand it is a labor capacity. After that we have to define what is the capacity responsible. Then basic unit of measure also here also it is hours. Then start time, finish time, and then break. Those things we have to enter. So here 6 o'clock starting, 6 o'clock finishing, then the break is 1.5 hours. Those things we enter. Capacity utilization we fill here as 80%. Number of people work here 5. So after entering we enter here. So we get 90 hours as capacity. So after filling these things, now we go to the display work center. Here we are to display the capacity. It is not coming. Why? Because we are just clicking capacity, so it is not coming. So we go and click on the capacity category, any one capacity category, either machine 001 or person 002. Then you click. For example, now I go and click on the 001 machine. Right now it is getting selected. Now I go and click on the capacity. I am able to see the capacity details, because this is what many people are missing it during training. I am seeing it. That's why I am showing this deliberately here. Now we see the details. We can just compare them. Now we have updated all the capacity details. So the next thing what we should do, we should go for the next tab, the scheduling. So we just compared the capacity details and the scheduling details. Now after completing this, we go back. Now here after entering the capacity, you have to go back here, okay, to go to the main page. So before that, in capacity you have to fill the relevant to finite scheduling and also the overload 10%. Those things I explained already. What is the purpose of this finite scheduling, overload, all these things were explained already. Now we go back. Now we have to go to the next one, that is the scheduling tab. So let us go to the scheduling tab. In scheduling tab, so here we have the capacity category. That is again, what is the category? Let us go and see that. Go back and then click on scheduling. So here we have the capacity category machine, the formula also there, SAP 001, SAP 002. Let us fill them. So it is 001, and then here it is the setup formula for scheduling and the processing formula for scheduling. Those things we fill it. After completing them, we have to go to the costing view, right? So now we'll go and refer what is the costing view. When you are referring the costing view, so here system will ask that as each work center is linked to the cost center. This is integration between PP and the controlling. So we should be carefully fill them. Okay. This one you have to fill in discussion with your controlling team. So here we have to give validity data, like this work center linking with the cost center. What is the validity data? Those things we have to enter. What is the right cost center? Those things also we have to enter. And then what is the activity type, activity unit, formula for costing? Those things you have to fill. So here I am not filling them, but wherever you need it, you need to fill them with your controlling person discussion. Now we updated the details for the costing also here. Now we press enter. We don't see any errors. With these things we can save the work center. With this, the work center S003 in a plant 1710 is created. So this is how we are creating the work center. Just now we saw how to create a work center new starting from all the parameters. Now we will see how to create a work center copying from another work center. The transaction code is same CR01. Here we go and put what is the plant, which work center we want to create, we enter. From where we want to copy, from which plant and which work center we copy from. We enter these details. Before proceeding, let us validate all the details. The plant, work center, category, which from which plant, from which work center, those things we'll select and then press enter. Now the system is showing what are the details we want to select. We saw various tabs now, which tabs we want to select. Here it is showing various things, basic data, text, everything. Now we will select what is required for us. Basic data, default values, capacity, scheduling, and whatever the tab we want, will let us select them and proceed. After clicking these things, right, system is showing the copy, that there was icon, no copy. Now when you go to the first page, system is telling enter the entry field, all the required field, because the description of the work center is mandatory. So let us fill the description, final assembly activities, FG or SFG. For simplification, I am using these descriptions. You can use whatever the description you want. So now system is gone to the fifth tab, what we have not selected. Now there it has gone directly, costing. There we go and put what is the validity date, the cost center, all the details we update, right? Now, whenever we copy from, should go and validate the details. For example, in the basic data view, the standard value key, the machine that value, it is entered as should be well. Now I want to put it as must be entered. Okay, I want to change. Like this, we can go and update. And then default values, it is giving control key as this one. So that is okay for me. Regarding capacities, I want to check the capacity because this is a different work center. Capacity may be different. I go and see the machine capacity. Here we have two machines, but I have only one machine for this work center. Because I'm copying from another work center, I have to be very careful when you're updating the details because some parameters may change. Similarly, the machine, now the person also may change. I select person, I go there. So here we have only 3 people. So in the number of individual capacity instead of 5, I go and update 3. So these kind of updates we need to do whenever we copy from any other. This is not only applicable for this master data. Any master data when copy from, we have to go and update them properly. Scheduling we check, costing we check. So we checked all the parameters. Everything is okay. Save. Now the new work center is created. Now it is copy from another work center we did it. So please take note of it. Whenever we copy one master data from another master data, we need to go and check the parameters which are relevant for the new master data. We should not leave that no, we copied, everything is okay. In this case, we saw that work center number of machines are different, number of people are different. All those details we need to update and proceed. And then if we want to change anything in work center, so we finish the work center creation with the last page. Then we save it, then work center is saved. Now we want to change something. We can use the T code CR02. Now we will see how to change some parameters in a work center. The transaction code to change the work center parameters are CR02. We go there, we enter the plant and also the work center SZ01. I want to change. So here, for example, various tabs are there, description, anything we can change. Now in the basic data, in the standard value key under setup, I want to change the setup time from the not considered to the should be entered or should not be entered or must be entered. Some parameters I want to update. These things I can go and update, right? This is one change which I want to do here. For example, I do not want to enter the labor time here. I can go and update because this machine I don't necessarily enter the details. Then default values. Here I want to change control K can do. Similarly, capacity. Now machine capacity, if I go and see, this is another work center. In this work center, there is a change. Instead of one machine, there are 2 machines now, right? So I want to update the master data. These things I have to go and update it. So when the one machine is added, we have to go and update the work center also accordingly. Then only our capacity calculations will be proper. So now like this, our work center details are updated accordingly. So whenever there is a change in any work center, whether it is the working time or there is a parameters we want to control, or there is addition or deletion of number of machines, or capacity utilization is improved or not improved or decreased. In these cases, we need to go and update the work center details. Then only when we do the capacity analysis, these details will be reflecting properly. If we want to display something, we use a T code CR03.
Now, if you want to know that what is the total number of work centers, what are the total work centers available in the plant, we can use the T code CR05, where you enter the plant 4300 is an example shown here. You can enter your plant code. Then the system will list out what are all the work centers which are available based on the plant, capacity category, who is responsible, what is the description of the work center, all those things will be displayed.
Next, we would like to display all the work centers, whatever we need. So for that, how we can see the list of work centers in a plant or what are the categories we see. So we go to the menu path, logistics, production, master data, work centers. Here reporting, this is the report. So go to the reporting. Here work center list is there, CR05. So let us select this transaction CR05 and proceed. So here we go and put the what is the plant and leave it is the other things blank. Now you execute the transaction. So system will show all the work centers in the plant 1710. See here, we are seeing all the work centers. So where is our work center? SG001, SG002, those work centers. When we drill down, we see here, these four work centers are there. Now, by selecting one work center, by clicking on the display button, system will bring us to the display work center page. So like this, we can see the individual work centers details. Now going back, now I want to see only the work centers with some filter. For example, SG star. If I put like that, system will display only the work centers starting with SG. So here I am seeing only those four work centers starting with the SG. Like this, now using the parameters, the selection parameters are very important for any report. Not only this report, for any report is very important. So that you will get useful report from SAP. That is very, very important. So we should not go for any customization of reports. Using the facilities available in SAP, we should be able to get many reports which are very useful reports from SAP itself directly.
And then we want to know that any work center, we want to do some analysis, where and all it is used. For example, one work center may be used for various activities, how they are used and where they are used. So this one we can do it using the T code CA80. When enter the CA80 and also what is the date on which that work center has to be validated. Here we see this particular work center is used in two products. SGMC training IP1001, SGMC training OP1001, like these two products, and what is the validity of that work centers routings, and what is the status of this routing, what is the task list description, all those things are available here, right? So if at all if you want to take any maintenance, or there is a work center is overload capacity, we want to see what is the impact of this work center in other areas, this is the report which will be very much useful. The same similar report we saw no in a BOM also. What is that? Where used list. That is called what now? CS15. Now we are using CA80 for the work center where used point.
See, in any manufacturing environment, work center plays very important role. So whenever there is a maintenance requirement or there is a shutdown of particular work center, which are all the products getting affected, we should know how to get it from SAP. This can be done through the where used function of work center. We saw the where used function in the bill of material, a component where used using CS15 we saw that. Similarly, work center also we can see where it is getting used. What is the transaction code for that? So let us go through the menu path, logistics, production, then master data, and then we'll go to the work center. Now here under work center, we can see here the where used, the CA80, right? The CA80 is the work center. Here we write what is the work center here. So it is showing here the work center, and also you type, I mean, what is the type? I mean, which type, no, which task list type it is asking. It was when you removed it, it was showing as a mandatory. So we put it as routing N, which is required. So SG001, where and all it is used, that's what we want to see. There are some variants also available, the report variants. How do we want to display it? So now we have two types of layouts here. Now I will be selecting the first one to go with our report. So we select it and proceed. You can select whatever you want, you can see that. Now executing it, we are seeing this work center where and all it is getting used. Now by selecting one particular task list, no, then by clicking details, system will bring us to the particular routing, which product, what and all. Like that also we can see. So this will be very useful report when we define, right? If we want to improve some work center or we want to remove some work center, or there is a maintenance we have to take, or there is some sudden problem in work center, What are the impacts which are happening? For these analysis, if you want to understand this work center is affecting which products, we can use this report. In this session, we discuss the key concepts of work centers like definition of work centers, what are the uses of work centers, capacity planning, scheduling, and costing. And then we saw the demonstration like how to manage the work center, including create work center, change work center, display various reports, and where used to report. Now we will see the quiz for this session. Only machinery can be defined as work center, true or false. Work centers are defined only for production purpose, true or false. What is the difference between available capacity and required capacity? How do required capacities are arrived at? One work center can be used for more than one routing, true or false. Backplace can be defined at work center level, true or false. Can we define the default control key on the work center? Please think about these things. We'll see the answers in the next session. Assignment for this session, create work centers like SG001, SG02, S03, S004 or based on the logic what you would like to have, and run reports for the work centers explained in this session. After understanding various parameters in the work centers and managing them, we'll discuss routings in the next session. Meanwhile, create work centers for the business case explained. What are the clarifications you need? Please put them in the comment section of the YouTube, what you are seeing here. They will be answered then and there. Meanwhile, if you like to hire a dedicated SAP server to practice along with me, contact me at the following WhatsApp contact or email address. Thank you. See you in the next session. Take care. Bye.